Right, hello everybody. I think we're going to get very close this time round to finishing off James and Giant Peach. Might not be able to do it quite in one go because there's a few chapters yet, but hopefully we'll get to the end. So my plan is to do it quite quickly so that anybody that's been following the whole story can come to the end. So we've got up to chapter 32. They've escaped all the cloud men and various other dangers from their journey. And they've been going all night. It's cold and a bit sad and miserable. They just want the journey to end, I think is what they're coming to now. So, when full daylight came at last, they all got to their feet and stretched their cramped bodies. And then the centipede, who always seemed to see things first, maybe he's got very good eyesight, maybe just always looking, I don't know, shouted, "Look, there's land below!" "He's right," they all cried, running to the edge of the peach and peering over. "Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!" "It looks like streets and houses, but how enormous it all is!" A vast city, glistening in the early morning sunshine, lay spread out 3,000 feet below them. Shows how high they are in the air, doesn't it? At that height, the cars were like little beetles crawling along the streets, and people walking on the pavements looked no larger than tiny grains of sand. "But what tremendously tall buildings!" exclaimed everybody. "What town do you think it is?" asked the ladybird. "Well, this couldn't possibly be England," said the old green grasshopper. "Well, then where is it?" asked Miss Spider. "You know what those buildings are," shouted James, jumping up and down with excitement. "Those are skyscrapers, which are very, very tall towers, aren't they? They're skyscrapers, so this must be America. And that, my friends, means we have crossed over the Atlantic Ocean overnight." "You don't mean it," they cried. "It's not possible. It's incredible. It's unbelievable. Oh, I've always dreamed of going to America," cried the centipede. "I had a friend once who—"
"Oh, be quiet," said the earthworm. "Who cares about your friend? The thing we've got to think about now is, how on earth are we going to get down to Earth?"
Which is a very good point, isn't it? "Ask James," said the ladybird. "Well, I don't think that should be so very difficult," James told them. "All we have to do is cut loose a few seagulls. Because remember, it's the seagulls that are towing them along, isn't it? Not too many, mind you, but just enough so the others can't quite keep us up in the air. Then down we should go, slowly and gently, down and down until we reach the ground. Centipede will bite through the strings for us, one at a time." Far below them, in the city of New York, something like pandemonium was breaking out. A great round ball, as big as a house, had been sighted hovering high up in the sky over the very centre of Manhattan, which is a part of New York. And the cry had gone up that it was an enormous bomb sent up by another country to blow the whole city to smithereens, because nobody knows what it is, do they? Air raid sirens began wailing in every section. All radio and television programs were interrupted with announcements that the population must go down into their cellars immediately. 1 million people walking in the streets on their way to work looked up into the sky and saw the monster hovering above them. It's not really a monster, we know it's a peach, don't we? But they think it's a monster. And started running for the nearest subway entrance to take cover. Generals grabbed hold of telephones and shouted orders to everyone they could think of. The mayor of New York called up the president of the United States down in Washington, D.C., to ask him for help. And the president, who at that moment was having breakfast in his pyjamas, quickly pushed away his half-finished plate of Rice Krispies and started pressing buttons right and left to summon his admirals and his generals. They all think they're going to have to go into battle, don't they? And all the way across the vast stretch of America, in all the 50 states from Alaska to Florida, from Pennsylvania to Hawaii, the alarm was sounded and word went out that the biggest bomb in the history of the world was hovering over New York City, and that at any moment it might go off. And there you can see the largest bomb in history also known as Peach, of course, hanging over the skyscrapers of New York. "Come on, Centipede, bite through the first string," James ordered. The centipede took one of the silk strings between his teeth and bit through it. Once again, but not this time with an angry cloud man dangling from the end of the string. Do you remember that? He was saying to hang on the string and they bit through the rope, a string, and off he went. A single seagull came away from the rest of the flock, went flying off on its own. "Bite another," James ordered. The centipede bit a gnaw through another string. "Why aren't we sinking?" "We are sinking." "No, we're not." Don't forget the peach is a lot lighter now than when we started. It lost a lot of juice when all those hailstones hit it in the night. "Cut away 2 more seagulls, Centipede." "Ah, that's better. Here we go. Now we really are sinking." "Yes, this is perfect. Don't bite any more, Centipede, or we'll sink too fast." Gently does it. Slowly the great peach began to lose height. The buildings and streets down below began coming closer and closer. "Do you think we'll all get our pictures in the papers when we get down?" the ladybug asked. "Oh my goodness, I've forgotten to polish my boots," the centipede said. "Everyone must help me to polish my boots before we arrive."
"Oh, for heaven's sake," said the earthworm. "Don't you ever stop thinking about—"
He never finished his sentence, but suddenly, whoosh! And they looked up and saw a huge 4-engine plane come shooting out of a nearby cloud and go whizzing past them not more than 20 feet over their heads. This was actually the normal early morning passenger plane coming into New York from Chicago. And as it went by, oh no. As it went by, it sliced right through every single one of the silken strings. And immediately the seagulls broke away, and the enormous peach, having nothing to hold it up in the air any longer, went tumbling down towards the earth like a lump of lead. "Help!" cried the centipede. "Save us!" said Miss Spider. "We're lost!" cried the ladybird.
"This is the end!" cried the old green grasshopper. "James!" cried the other. "Do something, James! Quickly, do something!"
"I can't!" cried James. "I'm sorry. Goodbye. Shut your eyes, everybody. It won't be long now." Round and upside down went the peach as it plummeted towards the earth. They were all clinging desperately to the stem to save themselves from being flung into space. Do you think it's going to be all right? Faster and faster it fell. Down and down and down, racing closer and closer to the houses and streets below, where it would surely smash into 1,000,000 pieces when it hit the ground. And all the way along Fifth Avenue and Madison Avenue and all on the other streets in the city, people who had not yet reached their underground shelters looked up and saw it coming. And they stopped running and stood there staring in sort of stupor at what they thought was the biggest bomb in all the world falling out of the sky onto their heads. We know it isn't, though, don't we? So they'll be all right. A few women screamed. Others knelt down the sidewalks, began praying aloud. Strong men turned to one another and said things like, "I guess this is it, Joe," and "Goodbye, everybody, goodbye." And for the next 30 seconds, the whole city held its breath, waiting for the end to come. "Goodbye, ladybird," gasped James, clinging to the stem of the falling peach. "Goodbye, centipede. Goodbye, everybody." There were only a few seconds to go now, and it looked as though they were going to fall right in among all the tallest buildings. James could see the skyscrapers rushing up to meet them at the most awful speed, and most of them had square flat tops. But the very tallest of them all had a top that tapered off into a long, sharp point, like an enormous silver needle sticking up into the sky. Do you know what's going to happen? I think I'd worked out what's going to happen. Yep. And it was precisely onto the top of this needle that the peach fell. There was a squelch. The needle went in deep, 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 and suddenly there was the giant peach, caught and spiked upon the very pinnacle of the Empire State Building. And you can see how tall it is and how big the peach is, because you can see there's an aeroplane in the sky there. You can see the seagulls flying away with all attached to their strings. And below the peach, there's the skyscrapers, but you can see a helicopter flying. Well, that seems like a good place to end that. And then next time I read, we will get through to the very end. Of course, what we've got to work out, I guess, how is James and the centipede and the spider, how are they going to get down? Interesting, isn't it? Because they're on the very top of a very tall building, which when Roald Dahl wrote this book, in fact, that building, the Empire State Building, was the tallest building in the world. It didn't anymore because others have been built even taller, particularly not least in other countries, but it was the tallest in the world. I'm going to stop now there. I'll put this up, and then the other one will be up very soon, which will take us to the very end of James and the Giant Peach. Hope you're enjoying it. Talk to you soon.